Hi, now it's time to make our apple pie. Delicious apple pie. We misplaced our pie pan, so we're using a square one. Um, it's gonna look a little funny, but hopefully it'll taste great. So first off, we're gonna start with a bowl. And we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of salt. Like that. There we go. And 2 cups of just like all-purpose flour. This is an interesting measuring cup. All right. Get some flour. That in. All right, come on. This is a perfect dish for Christmas, any holiday dinner. This is a perfect dessert. It's delicious and it's relatively easy. A little bit more. I make a mess when I cook, but parents like clean kitchens, so learn to clean. Oh. All right, here's our sort of 2 cups of flour. Right in there. All right, so you want to make sure that the salt and the flour are combined. So just sort of mix that up a little bit. All right, now if you don't have a pastry blender with like to mash butter or shortening, you can just use 2 knives. It's just as easy. So we're gonna add 2/3 cups of butter or shortening. So I'm just gonna cut it up a little bit so it's easier to combine. And this has to form sort of like a crumble before we make it a dough. Okay, so take just 2 knives and you're just gonna cut like that so that you are combining the butter into the flour and salt mixture. And yes, as I said before, this should resemble, once you sort of get to the end, like a crumble, sort of. So the chunks of butter. Again, you can use this with, you can use shortening. Okay, so after you, get your butter mixed in, you want to have some ice cold water. And then you're going to add that in 1 at a time, 1 tablespoon at a time, into the butter, flour, and salt mixture. So right now I have quite a big, crumble. It's a little harder to do it with knives just because it's not as exact. And there we go. So it's gonna, resemble crumble. And thank you. Here is our ice water. And our tablespoon-ish. So it depends, of course, on the day, depends on how much water you're gonna use. Start out with like a couple, like 3. And then you're just gonna need a fork. Thank you very much. And you want to, this part is sort of tedious because you just have to, keep adding in, flour. My secret person is handing me all kinds of good stuff. So just keep mixing this together, and it's gonna. You want to be careful not to use too much water, but I mean you have to use enough. So, okay. So after we've added many tablespoons of water, our ball of dough should be like that. Look, sort of. It should be together. It's sort of a tedious process, but because you have to add sort of a lot of water. It depends on, because some days the flour needs more water, some days it doesn't. Anyways, so what we're gonna do now is, if you have a cutting board, if you don't want to use your counter, you have granite here, so that's fine. Sprinkle some flour onto the counter or cutting board, and you're gonna take something and cut your dough in half. So, and then put the 1/2 in the fridge. So I'm gonna hand this to Dan, and he's gonna put it in the fridge. Now I'm gonna hand it to Dan, and he's gonna put it in the fridge. All right. So you want to get a rolling pin, and you want to put some flour in it. This process can take some practice. I mess up all the time on this. You just want to make sure that it gets that you have flour, so it doesn't stick to the counter. That happens all the time. So basically, you want to roll out your dough so that it is big enough to. This is going to be the bottom piece, so it has to be big enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So you want to go in like the pie lightly. You're pressing lightly, and you want to go in sort of like the pinwheel. Rolling pattern, sort of. So you just got to make sure that it rolls out to be big enough, and flip it over once in a while, and put some flour underneath. Flip it over, keep rolling, and you don't want the crust to be too thick, because then you get too much, bleh. But you don't want it to be too thin, otherwise it's gonna break. Nasty. So since ours is a square pan, I'm gonna try and make it sort of like get it to fit it. So right, and then to size it, you just kind of flip this over, and that is almost good. Just roll it out over here a little bit more, and of course for the circle pan, you're probably gonna have to make it a little bigger, but this part's all right. So once you're done rolling this out, what you want to do is lay it out in the bottom of the pan, which I'm gonna do. You can either pick it up and drape it over, or roll it up on the rolling pin. Oh, see, it's sticking a little bit. That, and kind of drape it over and get it in here. Aha. And kind of fit it in. You can let the edges drape over a little bit. You can trim them off later. Okay, this is a little deeper, so unfortunately our pie crust is going to be sort of weird. And after you finish this step, you're going to want to make the filling. So Dan's going to show you how to do that.
Now that we have the pie crust, half of it in the fridge and the other half in the pan, we're going to do the filling. So apple pie, obviously apple. Yeah. So I'm just going to start by peeling these. Claudia's dancing. Shows how professional we are. So these are Granny Smith apples. No, I don't know what they are. They're green apples. Extremely easy to peel. I think they're pretty good. You can use Macintosh apples. Those are really good. And so we're supposed to have 6 cups of chopped apples, but I don't think we're going to do that because we forgot to go to the store and get more apples, so whatever. It'll still taste good. And our basic ingredients for the filling is some sugar, some flour, apples, of course, cinnamon, I had a little brain fart there, and nutmeg. And I think that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. I don't know. My speech is slurring. And yeah. And then, so once we get the filling all set, we're going to put some butter on it. It's just pretty much going to make it a little bit creamier and like softer, I guess. And it tastes really good. If you want to go the healthier way, you can take out the butter, but if you're trying to be healthy, I'm pretty sure you're not going to have apple pie to begin with. So it's up to you. And then this pretty much goes with any type of filling. If you're doing like a blueberry pie, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. Alright, so I'm gonna keep peeling these. Alright, now that I've peeled the apples, I'm just gonna cut them up. And you can pretty much choose how big you want them. I'm gonna have them on the smaller side because I don't like having a big piece of apple to bite into. So in the bowl, we're gonna combine the dry ingredients and then add the apples. And the apples look really good. I'm actually gonna try a little bit. It's really good. Sour but good. But it'll soften up. So now we're gonna add 3/4 cup. Where's my measuring cup? Of flour. It's almost 3/4. And most of you know this, but if you're a beginner, I meant to say, when you measure things, you hold the measuring line to eye level. It's called the meniscus, I believe. And that way, because if you're looking from here, it looks like you have a cup of flour, but when you bring it up to eye level, you get the actual measurement. And then you're going to add 1/4 cup sugar. Yum. Almost out of sugar. It's 1/4, and then we're gonna add just a little bit more for good luck. As my grandma always did. 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg. Here we go. We have this little fancy nutmeg thing. I don't know how to do this. I think I go like this. Let's see, is that enough? And then a little bit more. It's like a pepper dispenser. Okay. Then 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Cinnamon. There we go. I'm having a really tough time today. Add all of that. And then lastly, we're going to add, well, we're going to mix this up first, so I'm going to need a fork. Alright, so this is all mixed up now. Pretty evenly. Smells good. Oh god. Alright, I'm going to add the apples. I still need to cut up one. Alright. And another one. Just gonna kind of mix these. I have the pan here. Claudia's great work with the dough. Just gonna add this in. Spread it out. And then add this. Just want to make sure that it's pretty much even because you don't want big awkward lumps. And this looks pretty good, not gonna lie. And if you have a normal pie, you can do something which is called a round Thai pie. So what that is that you would use more apples and you would kind of mound it, and that's like the traditional type of pie. This one's definitely more flat and it's much more even, and I mean I think it's kind of nice. It's not so thick, and then whatever you have left over the filling, the dry ingredients that you mixed in before adding the apples, kind of sprinkle that on top here. And then now I'm gonna cut up my apples. My butter. It's been a long day. Sorry. So I have 2 tablespoons of butter here. I'll just cut it on the granite. Not a big deal. And yeah, then just put this in different parts of the pie. And then now we're gonna roll the top of the pie crust. Okay, so now that we have the filling done, we're gonna finally get the top on this thing. So this has been sitting in the fridge for probably like 10-15 minutes, and like before, you're gonna do actually exactly the same thing. Sprinkle some flour down. I'm just gonna get some on my hands. So, because the top crust has to be kind of like, not perfect, but it has to be, it can't be messy if you care how it looks. It'll still taste good. You, or I at least, always start by rolling it kind of into a ball like this. And that's just so that it's even when you roll it out. It's actually kind of relaxing. Alright. So, I have my flour spread on the cutting surface. And I'm just gonna cover the rolling pin now. So, like Claudia was doing earlier, just kind of do it in a pinwheel action. See, now it's not even sticking. There we go. Kind of lightly, just get it. And I'm going to do it a little bit more back and forth because we do have to get it in kind of a square, to the best of our ability, formation. So, lift it up. It's not a big deal. I mean, I think it's not that difficult to do, and it's really not that picky because you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And this is almost done. And unlike the bottom of the bottom crust, you don't have to have it. It doesn't have to be quite as big because you don't have to cover the sides. It just needs to go on the top. So I'm gonna do this for a little bit longer, like this. Move it. Make sure that I'm not getting it stuck. Make sure it's pretty much even as to the best of my ability. Alright, I think that's pretty good. So I'm just gonna see if that will fit. And yep, does. We're just gonna, yep, not sticking. Yay! Just gonna sprinkle some on here for the last time. You don't want to put too much on because otherwise it becomes really dry and gross. And I just like to roll it on like that. And oops. There we go. Now Claudia is gonna finish it off because she's good at that, unlike me. Alright.
Okay, so now that we have the top crust, we are gonna flute, or it's called fluting when you decorate the edges. And we're gonna basically, first we need to sort of trim the edges because if they're hanging off, they'll like melt in the oven. So we're sort of just gonna pull it off. And if you need more dough on like other opposite sides, if you need more, if it's falling off, you can just add it on. It's alright. So this is kind of tricky to make it look nice because it's a weird pan. So this can be kind of interesting. So sort of just want to get the edges together and kind of put them up on the sides like this. Now that we have the top crust, we're gonna you have to trim off the edges, which I've sort of already done, because they'll melt in the oven. So in a regular pan, you have the dough over the side, and you can take a fork and sort of press it like this to make the edges look nice. But for this one, it's sort of tricky to do that. So we're gonna cut using this like a knife. We're gonna kind of cut it because it's a really tall pan. So cut it like that. Okay. So then just kind of take that away. It's still gonna look really messy, but it'll taste good. Just peel all that off and just take that down. Keep going. Okay, so now we've sort of got our pie. And the good thing about this is that you don't have to, bring it out. You can just cut it directly in the pan. So just kind of push down the edges to make them relatively even though they're really not. Oh, got a lot of dough right there. Take some of that off. Okay, so here is our pie. And now you have to beat, 1 egg. And I'm gonna put that over there. And take like a pastry brush sort of. And you're gonna wanna just, brush it all over this. This is gonna give it a nice, brown shiny color on the top, and, just get it everywhere. Sides. All right. Probably not going to use the whole egg. Let's see if it's a lot bigger pan in this. Okay. So now we are gonna stick this in the oven